Life after death? Different religions on the globe have different answers to this fascinating question: what happens after death? The Western and the Eastern religions have quite different views on the life after death. These two mainly differ on the issue that whether the soul has rebirth after death or not. The Eastern religions hold the belief that the soul indeed could have rebirths after death, but the Western religions predict that there is no rebirth after death and the soul either goes to the heaven or hell for eternity depending on whether it had done good or bad deeds on the earth. The aim of this article is to explain the major religious beliefs on the life after death, but not to support any one belief or thought. As already mentioned, the Western religions, mainly the Christian and the Muslim religions, hold the view that, if the soul had done good deeds and had it lived according to the scriptures, the soul would directly go to the heaven and will live there forever, in the kingdom of God, along with the God. On the other hand, if the soul had lived in such a way that it is contrary to the scriptures, that is, if the soul had done many bad things, then it would invariably be pushed into the hell for eternity and there it would suffer forever. On the other hand, in contrary to the above Western religious answer to the question what happens after death, the Eastern religions, especially the Hinduism, indeed has detailed and elaborate descriptions. The positive point is that, the Eastern religions give a chance of hope even to the souls those have led a villain or very bad life on the earth, due to the belief that, the soul indeed takes quite a number of births till it becomes purest. Until the soul turns purest or attains enlightenment, it is given a chance to take births. The Eastern religions hold that belief that, the soul takes many births, or more clearly, the soul has to live in many of the possible organisms that are present on the earth and in other worlds unseen. The soul has to live the life of many of the possible life forms available on the earth and in other worlds unseen. In each life form the soul gets certain maturity and finally it takes the life as the human birth. This concept is similar to Charles Darwin's evolution theory that states that, life indeed has evolved from the singular cellular beings to the human beings. The Hinduism holds the view that there are about 84 lakh different life forms in the worlds and the soul takes many of these different life forms, and before it could take the human birth the soul indeed had taken 1,86,000 different births, living in different life forms. Some of these lives might be on others' worlds too, not only on the earth. The Eastern religions hold the view that, the life is a voyage from the known to the unknown, from darkness to light, from death to immortality, and until the soul attains immortality or enlightenment it has to take births, it has to struggle in the worlds, making the voyage of life. The modern world believes that, we have to enjoy as much as possible with this body and this body is meant for sensual enjoyment. But, in contrast to this, the Eastern religions hold the view that, the birth, whatever life form it might be, it is like a tumor, the life itself is a disease. The biggest of all the diseases is this very body, and all the purpose of this life is to cure this disease, to get rid of this cycle of births, to attain enlightenment, the formless state, the state of oneness. Once the soul gets into that final state, the enlightenment, it will not come back again into the cycle of births, it has no birth again, it goes beyond the limits of the space and time, the soul attains immortality, and this immortal state is beyond the comprehension of the mind. It can't be uttered, and this is the final summit of the voyage of life. Going to the heaven, leading life in heaven as God is just a part of the cycle of this life. The final state is beyond forms and names. Attaining this final summit is the sole purpose, especially of this human life, the Eastern religions roar. The Eastern religions hold the view that, having luxuries and living with this body is mere stupidity, and being a king or being a god is nothing before the final state, the enlightenment. Gods in the heaven are just some advanced life forms than the humans, according to the Eastern religions, and leading a god's life, living in heaven, is just one facet in the journey of the soul. Now coming to our question, what happens after death? If the animals or birds die, they will definitely take birth as some other advanced life forms, because the concept of good and bad doesn't apply to them. This rule applies to all the beings except the human life according to the Eastern religions. But, if a man or woman dies, then, what would happen to that soul depends on how that person had lived, and it is complex to explain in few lines here. I will give only the main concepts here but, not the details. After death, an average person, who had done good deeds and bad works equally, and if these deeds are not terrible crimes, then that person would take birth as a human being again, and the very next birth depends on those good and bad deeds as well. We could observe that different persons differ on different things in the world. For example, people differ with respect to riches, position, beauty, and etc., and the Hinduism says these differences are only due to the difference in their good and bad deeds in their previous births. The majority of the persons after death would get the human birth. Out of the rest, a minority of the people whose good deeds are very dominant compared to their bad deeds, these would go to the heaven or different worlds that are similar to the heaven. There are different worlds described in the Eastern religious books, and these descriptions at times have parallels to the modern cosmological multiverse concept. The souls reaching those worlds would live there happily for a very long time, leading a luxurious life. Once their past good is expensed, they will again take birth as human beings. On the other hand, some of the persons, whose bad deeds are more compared to their good deeds, would go back in the evolution cycle and would take birth as inferior beings, might be as snakes, birds, worms, animals, etc. Which form they would take will depend on the dominant sin or bad things they had committed in their life. The Hindu religious scriptures have detailed descriptions on this too. Finally, after death, it is possible that 1 out of a million persons would be relieved from this cycle of births and will never take birth again in any form. This is in the case of the individual who had done rigorous spiritual practices and had attained enlightenment in life. This is to note that, enlightenment comes while the person is alive and not after death. These are the major possibilities that could happen to a person after death, but there are still some more possibilities too in the case of some persons leading peculiar types of lives, and they are not general happenings. Do you like this video? Please write your comments below and share this video on your social networks. Thank you for watching.